Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this beautiful, great morning in Belgrade at the stage to talk about open data and if it can illuminate real-world problems and maybe do even more than just shed light into it. I'm very honored and privileged to be joined on stage with people who have been part of the open data movement for a while now, been driving it, been some of the evangelists of it, to share their experience, not with you as an audience this morning, and to see where do we go from here. This also happens to be happening during the Serbia Open Data Week, where there's activities around 8 cities across Serbia. The Open Data Week is run by UNDP and supported by the World Bank and the Good Governance Fund of UK. So 21 partners, tech, civil society, governments around Serbia are actually coming together to see this week on how open data can help illuminate and solve real-world problems, and actually just shows one of the greatest things about it, which is the capacity or the nature of it being able to bring collaboration between different sectors. The speakers today come from different parts of the region, different parts of the world, and bring their very different experiences and insights into this conversation. And I'd actually like to invite Lawrence to start us off. He comes from the ODI. UK has been one of the biggest proponents of open data and used to hold the top spot for years on the Open Data Barometer. Any index on open data, now somewhat overtaken, has experience of over 10 years. And I think it'd be interesting to see, to hear from you, what have been, how's that playing out for the UK, and what are some ways in which it has worked from that perspective?
Lena, thank you, and thank you for having me in Belgrade. Lena, thank you, and thank you for having me in Belgrade, and it's really great to have the opportunity to speak to all of you today and to talk about some of the great potential of open data in Serbia and countries in the region. So, yeah, I'm from the Open Data Institute. We were founded by Sir Tim Berners-Lee. Tim created the World Wide Web, which obviously spread the internet around the world. So we're very keen on sort of openness and standards and helping people collaborate in many different ways. So just to give you a sort of a brief overview of open data in the UK. So in the mid-2000s, some people in UK civil society, media, and among politicians started to ask some basic questions about, if the government has lots of data, why is it the only one that has access to that data? Not least when that data is about things which citizens could benefit from to improve their lives. And in particular, if there's economically or financially valuable data, maybe other people are better placed to take advantage of it. And so then the UK sort of picked up momentum and took some of that enthusiasm for openness and started to install sort of means of sharing data more easily. It came up with something called it's open government license for the use of data, which basically helps when a government releases a set of data, helps entrepreneurs, civil society activists to know how they're allowed to use data and the way they can use it. And I'll use just two big examples of how open data has brought transformational effects in the United Kingdom. One of which was when a number of years ago, Transport for London, which is the transport authority for the London area, decided to release lots of its data on the people making journeys in London, so on the trains or buses or that type of thing. And it did that, and that has stimulated thousands and thousands and thousands of apps and development contributions that help people like me get around London much, much more efficiently than the public authority could ever do. So out of that data, very, very profitable companies now, like Citymapper, which is spread across the world, is able to provide me with a digital service on my phone, which helps me to get across across the city using buses, trains, taxis, with weather data, with traffic data, with lots and lots of different data sources. And the value of transport for London data is now thought to be worth about 140 million euros a year. So just to give you one more example, an example very, very recently, of something called open banking. So the Open Data Institute worked with large financial organisations and a financial regulator in the UK to come up with a way in which banks can share data much more easily, and I, as a user of a banking service, can take my data out of one bank, give it to another, therefore providing lots of competition in the banking sector. And in the past year, I have completely switched my banking away from big traditional banks to start-up innovator banks. And there are now banks in sort of start-up fintechs in the UK which are now worth billions of dollars and will probably expand around the world in the years to come. So yeah, there are two transformational examples with data we have to use it.
Well, you started us off on a very ambitious path. So we're in Serbia, Maria, and Serbia started its open data path around 2014, 15. I remember being in Belgrade in September, I think. Oh, in December 2015. It was December. In the first hackathon. So where are we now, and how is that? How is this space shaping up in Serbia?
Thank you, Leila. Can I get help with presentation? Sorry. I prepared a couple of slides. I told that organizer provided. Okay. Until that, I will start. Thank you. Yes, this is the first slide about our project, which is still running until the end of this year, Open Data, Open Opportunities. We started this project in 2018 with support of the World Bank, GGF fund from the British government, Swedish International Development Agency, and of course our main partners, UNDP office in Belgrade. And we have some timeline, just a quick introduction how things happen. So 2015, Leila mentioned it. We started with workshop and in Serbia for Serbian civil servants, and we visited third Open Data conference in Ottawa. After that, we conducted ODRA, Open Data Readiness Assessment in Serbia, and developed action plan, which showed us some guidelines, which are the elements of open data ecosystem, which we need to work on. I must say almost all the elements we need to work on, but this action plan provided us information, and after that we organized hackathon, because 5 institutions opened very first their data sets in Serbia, and after the hackathon we had a big conference in December 2015. After that we recognized that we need to establish open data working group from the members from public organizations, from government bodies, who would lead this open data initiative. And in 2017 we published the first version of Open Data Portal, which has been improved and published a couple of weeks ago the new improved version. Our project, Open Data Open Opportunity, started in 2018, and I said we are finishing this year. In this moment, current focus is to provide sustainability of the project results. It's very important for us, and of course that means to continue to engage government bodies to open their data sets. Instead, we rounded the legal framework with the law on e-government and with the bylaw on working with Open Data Portal. We still need to push government bodies to open their data. In the same time, we need to educate, support open data consumers, meaning civil sector, non-governmental sector, and we need to engage. I think it's very important to engage businesses to find interest in supporting this initiative as well, and to supporting development of different open data products. One of the main things is again to support open data local, which is Lauren mentioned some examples. The life is happening on local level, so we need data on public transportation, on taxis, on parking places, and so on. So we need to support it, and of course to promote best practice example, just to encourage the further. I would like to give some examples on how I felt open data could change some opinions and to provide possibility to give some better decisions. There is a phrase that open data means that we could provide open data-driven decisions, and for me it was very interesting to experience when Serbian Regulatory Agency for Telecommunication, RATEL, opened the data on electromagnetic fields in Belgrade and the other cities in Serbia, because we had some understanding that implementing these basic stations for telecommunication operators is going to increase electromagnetic radiation very high, and it could be harmful and dangerous for people's health. And when RATEL published data on the level of electromagnetic fields in different places in Belgrade, we saw that the level is below than European standard is. I'm not very expert in that field, but I understood that Europea gave some standard 10 measuring units, and our values are up to 1. So that is something which was very, very interesting, and data illuminate some facts on real world. This is level of electromagnetic field in around one school in downtown Belgrade. So you can see the red line is the maximum acceptable level, and the yellow are the values with RATEL measured. Serbia joined the OGP partnership in 2013, and we are now running the third action plan, which includes a measure on opening government budget. Ministry of Finance had some concerns about this opening the budget, because our budget has been prepared towards a methodology which we call program budget. And it is not very simple and very understandable for people who are not in that methodology, and the Ministry of Finance had some concern about some misunderstanding or misunderstanding that budget. In some moment, Ministry of Finance published this budget in open, let's say open in Excel format, and one of the civil sector organizations downloaded it, because it is going not to change, because it's only program budget, meaning plan for the 2019. This civil sector organization developed one very simple and understandable visualization, just about the portion of budgets which some government bodies used. And you can see which are the biggest consumers, let's say, of budget. And it's very interesting to see. I provided the link if you want to see it. The Ministry of Interior was one of the first who released data on traffic accidents in Belgrade. and it has been developed application on that data set. And what was interesting in my understanding was not only that you can find on the map when you are driving from point A to point B, where are the so-called black spots when you need to be very careful. But one other fact was very interesting for me, because data contain time and the day in the week which the accidents happened and how severe was the accidents. And you could experience from analyzing that data that it's not very common that accidents happen when rains or during rush hours. But when maybe the conditions for driving are optimal, which is maybe some, some call for the agency for traffic safety to take care about it and to maybe to do some policy about it. And yes, that was it. I believe that open data can improve people's lives, not only produce money and services, but just to make impact on our everyday life.
So I think we went from illuminating problems to saving lives in good weather. Well, I think that's a great segue into the case from Albania, from Open Data Albania. The movement in Albania started actually from civil society. So whereas in Serbia we saw it kind of cross-cutting from the beginning, collaboration between public sector and the ecosystem. I think in Albania started from civil society and then got picked up by the government. So it'd be great to hear your experience, Romina, in terms of how is that working and what are some of the results?
Thank you, Alina.
So Albania has been part of the OGP project since 2011, and until now, yes, we have had a few portals on municipality level, and then all the institutions had their data published on their websites, but each one had their own data, and it was just data that was published manually. So because the government of Albania is determined to work for a transparent, open, quality government, so we thought that it was a good idea that we made a centralized portal, just like we have done with the state portal for offering electronic services, so that everyone can access this portal and find all the data that the government has to offer to the public in the same place. So the National Agency of Information Society, which is the core institution in Albania for providing, for doing the digitalization process of public administration, and as well as offering public services to the citizen, businesses, and the public employees, has worked last year on the implementation of the Open Data Portal. Actually, there are two portals, so we thought to separate them because we wanted to have a dedicated portal just on the progress of the OGP initiative in Albania, and we have information on the action plan as well and what we have done in a state level. And then we have the Open Data Portal, which is this one, and this one includes all the open data that we have started to gather this year from the public institutions. So a major helper in this process is, of course, the government interoperability platform, which is the backbone that enables the online and real-time communication between electronic systems of our public institutions. We have 49 electronic systems that are connected and communicate in real time with each other in order to provide electronic services to citizens, businesses, and public administration. So we gather some of this data that you see here through interoperability from the government interoperability platform. Of course, all this data we haven't been able to identify data from all the 49 electronic systems that we have connected, because not all the data can be open data. But we are working, and because we published the open data portal in February, so we have some data regarding education data, such as schools and their geographic coordinate, grades and students registered over the years. We also have open data that comes with interoperability from the Ministry of Finance and Economy regarding finance, such as treasury actions, data on imports, data on the state budget, local government debt or external debt, as well as we have open health data, such as the reimbursable medicament list. And we have data on environmental monitoring, legalization of illegal constructions, business registration, the use of public services in Albania, etc. So all this data can be downloaded to various formats like CBS, HTML, JSON, XML or Excel files. And what I wanted to mention as well is that since 2016 we also have our notification and consultation portal, which is dedicated to the civil society. So while we are drafting a law, and since we have the obligation to put up for consultation, we invite all the civil society to comment on the law, so that we can have an overall idea whether that law is useful or not. And then we gather their comments, and we still work on the law, so before we pass it to the parliament. What I also wanted to mention is that the National Agency of Information Society is still working on improving the existing systems that we already have, as well as building new electronic systems for public institutions in case they still don't have one. So this data that will come from these new electronic systems that are being built, especially during this year, will help us to enrich the open data portal, so that we have more open data and useful data that can be used by either the civil society or students or startups that we have in Albania. Just wanted to mention a few systems that we have improved. So we have recently upgraded the social assistance system, and we have built a data warehouse for keeping the historical data of the applicants. We have developed new modules for the traffic management system, and we have installed axle weight sensors that will enable data collection from the sensors that have been put in our roads, so that we can calculate the weight of the vehicles traveling on our roads. And the most important one is that we are working on improving our existing educational systems, which will enable us to track the progress of the pupils, to see their grades, and get data from schools, so in order for us to understand how we can improve the education process in Albania. One of the main places where the open data will be used is, of course, our new digital hub that we have launched just 2 months ago. It's called TechSpace, and we have our stand here at the summit as well. So we are trying to push the use of Open Data Portal as much as possible to the young people, ICT students who come there every day to work on their projects, or for startups that have been registered on the TechSpace as well, so that we can provide them with data as well as mentorship or trainings that they might need, and they can use this data to build up, for example, applications or websites for the civil society, and to improve our life in Albania.
Wonderful. That's really encouraging to hear. So, Bardu, I think the division between supply and demand, actually, like the supply of the data and where's demand coming from, is actually blurring, right? A lot of the data is now being provided by civil society organizations really what the community needs to be able to deliver on something open data promises for social and economic value to eliminate world problems. And where is there potential for improvement, if any?
Yeah, thank you, Lena. So, yeah, from speaking from the perspective of civil society organization, I would emphasize that there is, when speaking about open data, very often, especially at the very beginning when we started, it was like speaking about a UFO. There is something out there, we have seen it, somebody knows where it is, but nobody can make a very complete description of what open data is and how open data can be used. So, and I think that we are still at this phase in our region, is that we all speak about the benefits, about the big potential that open data has and what it can do for the business sector, what it can do for the government, for civil society, for the media. But so far we haven't seen, at least in our region, something very tangible that we could say that here this is an example about a very concrete and tangible benefit of open data. Of course, there are a lot of examples in my country, and we saw in Serbia and Albania, where we can say, okay, this is an example of how open data can be used. But so far, when speaking, for example, about a very concrete benefit for innovation or for economic development, so far the business sector was not really involved and was not attracted in this open data idea. And I would say it's not only in Macedonia, but also in the countries in the region. I think that for the first time that we spoke about open data in Macedonia, it was in 2011, Macedonia to be correct, North Macedonia, signed OGP. And in 2012, we started the first action plan. It was then for the first time that open data was mentioned. And for civil society organizations, it was seen as a very, especially for those working in good governance and openness of institutions, we saw it as a big opportunity. And but it was really challenging, and we noticed that speaking about open data at that time was really something very difficult and challenging, because not everybody knew what open data is. When we're speaking there about open data, most of the people thought that we were speaking about freedom of information. They were saying, yeah, we publish our reports on our website, yeah, we put everything on our website, and then we had to work in order to really demystify what open data means, and not only for, and I'm not speaking only about the government, but also for us, civil society organization, for the media and all other actors that could really benefit from open data. And it was in 2014, with the support of the UK Embassy, actually, in our country, that we started this raising awareness campaign. We organized meetups throughout the country, really to speak about open data, to present examples of how open data worked in other countries, what the open data can bring to the community. And then we even provided some support to NGOs who wanted to do some small projects related to open data, but it was in a very early phase. And but tremendous progress has been made since then. So after that, in 2014, there was this law on public sector information that was passed, dealing with really targeting open data. Last year we had this open data strategy adopted, which really provides a very good framework for what state institutions should do, but also business, civil society organization, and media. So what I would say, and I would repeat and highlight, that really we see the potential. There is a lot of potential. There is a political will to open data, but in one hand, the supply side, governmental institutions also need support in order to first identify the data set, to make an inventory of the data set that all institutions have, which is a very difficult task. Then from all those data sets to see what are the priorities for the civil society organization, for the business sector, and to select data sets that could really mean can create value. It's not just opening data or openness is not just a tool by itself. You know, we open data and everything is done. We open data in order to, for example, to increase the efficiency of the government or to create value for the business sector or civil society organization. So to prioritize those data sets, within the strategy there is now each institution should appoint an open data officer. I think most of them are now appointing them. I'm not sure if this process is finished. And this will, I think, help institution open more data sets. Last year, an open data portal was also promoted, and at this moment there are around 190 data sets published, but not all data sets are of quality and are useful to the NGO sector, at least. I don't know about in India. And that's where I see the role of the civil society organization. First, to require institutions to open data sets that provide value, and where there is potential to create something to put data into context or into correlation with other data in order really to provide some value. Then I see the role of civil society to, let's say, translating those data into something which is understandable for the citizens, because very often data are in raw format and it means nothing, and we cannot expect from citizens to understand or to know how to analyze and to interpret data. So I think the civil society organization I see as, let's say, this translator of this data into something useful. And I also see civil society organization as a sector which, together with the governmental sector and the business, could really show tangible benefit of open data. But this means that the government institution do open data that provide value, and just not say that, okay, we opened, I don't know, 200 data sets, but we cannot do nothing with them. So at the end, I will repeat what I said at the beginning. There is tremendous potential, there is political will, there are good steps, the framework are set, the civil society organizations are interested, and now we just have to transform this potential energy into something very concrete that could be useful.
So, you just reminded me of a saying I heard. You said, open data is like teenage sex. Everybody talks about it, but nobody knows how to do it well. So much for appropriateness. Georgia, we heard potential. Did I get muted for saying the wrong word? We heard a lot of potential, a lot of energy, a lot of political will. What does it take it to the level of impact, not only on actually bringing light into the issues, but also actually solving some of these problems? And we see some of the elements of that already. And another thing that would be interesting to reflect maybe on your end is the fact that the region is quite small. So how can that, working together maybe more closely, what would it take to work together more closely to get to the impacts that Barzi and the other countries were talking about, in terms of especially, I would say, the private sector and academia as well, which I would assume is similar.
Thank you. I'll use this opportunity to cover a couple of issues and answer some of the questions. First, I'll talk about the role of the state and the community. Second, additional angle on the state and what the state is missing in the process. Then a bit on the demand side and news side, academia, research institutions, and then regional angle. So, as we can see, it's on one level it looks that everything is going really well. States understand that open data is important. They have their projects, they have their portals, they're working on it, they're connected. And they're providing some supply of data. They understand that this data provided by the state are the fuel of digital economy, and that something will be created on that. But still, we have to be honest, there are no groundbreaking results in the region, at least. So, it's great working on awareness. Everybody wants to have teenage sex today. It's good developing the legal frameworks. It's great developing the infrastructure to hold this data, but we need to go a couple of steps forward. What we are usually missing, we are missing this holistic approach to data in public sector. Okay. So, it's extremely important to understand that we cannot do open data and have open door all the time because we have security issues, we have data protection, we have a lot of data ownership issues which are all really connected with open data. In order to be able to deliver open data, we need to solve these issues first, or at least parallel, especially in public sector. We can see that lack of data culture on so many levels. Many of you have to go through registration process and provide a lot of data.
The passport details when you signed up here.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So, identification number, the place of birth, the date of birth, like completely data you need to submit. And then what happened, and many other data also for participation here. It's not really clear why these data are collected. If they are for security reason, then I can tell you that many people provided fake ID number and still got their ticket. So the data were not used, they were just collected. So really understanding why we are collecting data and why we are using data in the public sector is precondition to open this data at the end, because opening of the data has to be taken really responsibly. So access, reuse, and blocking of the use of data as the three components have to be taken into consideration. Then let's go on the demand side. In order to be able to use data for your project, whatever it is it a private corporation, is it a startup, is it some R&D or academic work, you really need to identify the data. How do you identify the data you use? Like first, you have to understand the way how public administration works, to map IT solutions, and then really understand what kind of data are produced already within the public system. And then when you understand what is really this extra data produced by public administration system, then you have to start getting this data, submitting the requests, and then doing advocacy efforts, helping the state institutions to understand and eventually open the data. And that's a long process. It lasts, the circle lasts, I would say, at least 9 months if you are lucky. So it requires a lot of work on both sides. And then these data are, when we talk from academic sector, are extremely useful. We can, as academics, we can use them for exercises and assignments, for different kinds of simulations, for research, policy development, and eventually for academic writings. But there are different cultures in STEM field and in social sciences and humanities, and there is huge lack of resources and really understanding of methodology and how data are used in some of the fields. And when we take into account all other factors, there are clearly a couple of barriers. First is, and at least with universities and research institutions, is low readiness to involve big data into their research processes. There is a lack of infrastructure, and really believe that there is a lack of infrastructure without really understanding that maybe cloud can solve many of the things, but then we go lack of human resource regarding who can manage the infrastructure, and then human resource is the main problem. We have a prohibition of employment still, we have non-competitive salaries and other conditions for people who can work on this stuff, and we have a lack of motivation for improvement of qualification by already existing employees. So we have to systematically work on these things. So eventually, I would conclude that we have to work more on, at this point I feel we have to work more on demand and matching users with potential data sets which are open. It's great to have really nice open data portals, hundreds of data sets open, but we need to see the results in order to justify all the other efforts. On the other hand, we need to develop data culture within the public sector and work on digital transformation and really understand that all the positions in public sector have to be changed in the next couple of years. There are no positions which will stay as it is right now. Thank you.
Can we, thank you, George, for this deliberation. We open it up maybe for a few questions, if there's any questions from the audience on what you've heard so far. The microphone doesn't work. Is there a way to get a microphone here?
Sorry if I mispronounce it, but Babin mentioned something about quality versus quantity of data, and I remember I read a couple of years back that there was an issue from the users in the UK saying that there's too many data sets that don't have value. So my question is, was there backlash from the users in terms of, well, you have thousands of data sets, but you have to scroll down and search so much to find something that's valuable? And my second question for Lawrence as well is, what type of data sets, apart from local level transportation data, were, in your opinion, the most impactful in the UK?
Great. What if there's too much data and what makes sense the most? What brings the most value? Do we have other questions from the audience? Here's another one here.
Hello to everyone. Well, my question is, if we say that open data is precondition for a smart city, should we start on a local level and prioritize the data, such as we all know, we can't log all the data the same because, as you know, geosats are better than others, and statistical data is on the top level, and about the culture, transportation. Should we prioritize data and data sets that should be open, like transportation and all the others, and work on a local level with people on the local level, and focus on the sets that are most important and most valuable, so we can have a reuse instantly.
And the question is to whom? And maybe you can just introduce yourself as well.
My name is Andrea. I'm working in HomeSmart. I'm a part of one project concerning data, and we published the manual about the opening the data sets, and we did a small audra on local level, so how local
Great.
for everyone.
For everyone.
To
All
be
right.
honest.
Okay.
Can be loud. Marina from UND.
Wonderful. Do we have a third question from the audience? I think we're fine. So, because we're also being rushed out, I think the session is already over time. But maybe answering the questions that we got, and just a quick reflection on what it takes, what needs to be in the mix to accelerate from where we are now. And I think everybody's made a bit of a point around it, but just two things on how we can accelerate open data impacts actually in this region from we are now, as well as answering questions. Shall we can just go maybe this way. Georgia, start from you since you ended last. You spoke too much. Then we start from bottom. It's very democratic here.
In order to accelerate, I don't know, it's in our region, it's really what we need is a change of mindset, and it's change of this from a culture of secrecy to an openness culture. So the first phase is really for all governmental institutions to understand that the data they own is actually our data, citizens' data. And then I would say that in terms of quality and quantity, I would prefer quality versus quantity, but I would not, at this point, at least in my country, I would not say that we should select the best data in order to open it. I would say open whatever you have. Just in order not to find any excuse to not open data sets. I don't know if it is the right approach. I think that in the UK it proved to be a wrong approach, but you can tell us more. But I would say really open the bulk of data just to show an example, and then maybe to use one champion institution as an example, to identify one champion institution as an example, and then to contaminate other institutions to do the same. And I think the best thing to do is really to create an application or mobile application, or web app, or anything, or a service of the government that really could provide useful and valuable to the citizens. And not use any excuse like security and privacy in order not to open data, because our assumption is that we have responsible people within institutions that will not open private data and personal data, especially because this is also regulated by other laws, and we have in each of the countries, I think, a personal data protection institution.
And on the local level, quick reflection.
On the local level, it's more difficult, although I think that I agree it could be the best approach, because local government institutions are the first point of contact for citizens. It's the first point of where citizens interact with the government and do get services. And but at the same time, in Macedonia, they are the most closed institutions. And within another project that Metal Offices Foundation is doing in my country, we might measure the level of openness within the institutions, and local government municipalities are the most closed one. Not only they don't have open data, which is very rare, they don't even very often do not publish basic information about the way they are working, the way they are spending money, and not to speak about geospatial data that could be used in order for smart cities. Of course, we have some cities that are exceptions, but it's very, very difficult.
Apart from what Belgrade already said, just wanted to highlight the importance of promotion. So in order to actually use this data, so I think that we should promote what we already have, so our open data, to students, to startups, so that they can actually use this data. So we should push them and mentor them in order for them to come up with an app, so that other young people learn and come up with other ideas. So it grows naturally, and the data is actually used by our ICT developers.
And Lawrence, a bit more provocative for you. From what you've heard, and from everything the UK's done wrong and right, what do you think are the pitfalls that we can avoid by learning from the experience from the UK to get more impact?
Sure. So let me try and tie a few things together. So first of all, perhaps to think in terms of data infrastructure and how one can build data infrastructure, so sort of the registers for data, the standards for data, the ethics for data, the policies for data. And you don't need to achieve everything at once. So, starting with small projects and building from there can demonstrate value in important ways. The second of which point I would mention is that is into data ethics, and how all around the world, everyone over the next few years, perhaps the next few decades, is going to have to find some sort of balance between data sharing and the protection of personal data. And if we get it wrong, short term, the long-term costs could be enormous. So if we release very personal data in an improper way, and citizens around the world, whether they're using public or privately provided services, get used to the idea that I give away my data, it goes somewhere, it gets lost, I get hurt. They won't share their data proactively in things like health research. So they'll say, yes, you academic may be able to, extend my life by 10 years. I'm exaggerating obviously a little, but I'm not going to give that data to no one is because it just gets lost. And as a small example, and Georgia sort of mentioned or alluded to this, when I signed up for the conference, it asked me for my passport details, and it wasn't quite clear to me did they need my passport details because they were going to give me permission to come to the conference or not. And then when I gave my passport details away, there was a page I went to which had everyone else's passport details on it as well. So I know the passport numbers if they're real, and the ages and birthdays of everyone on this panel for no reason whatsoever. I didn't need to know that, they didn't need to know that about me. It's a good example of data practice which could be improved. To answer Katerina's question about producing too much data sets and whether there are more than local government examples, I think the principle there is publish with purpose. And publish with purpose speaks to the fact that we discover the value of data in use. So when it's applied to something, and publishing lots of data sets could be valuable in the future, but we have to find uses for that data in the future. And working with people now, so developers, community groups, civic organizations, entrepreneurs, working with them will really help you to find data sets which are valuable in the short term. And then to give a couple of examples from the UK, so we have a very centralised National Health Service in the UK which collects lots of data, and having some release of data in the National Health Service has created savings of several million, 100 million euros a year. To give you a problem in the UK, perhaps to end with, we have encountered a couple of problems with registers. So a register is basically just a kind of basic data set where you sort of establish where all the sort of fire stations are, where the national holidays are, where the sort of political boundaries are, and you need a sort of responsible holder for that list to maintain it. In the UK, we've had a difficulty with releasing a register for schools. So there are lots of different types of schools in the UK, and it's not clear who's responsible for naming the schools and putting them on the list, and thereby helping people to use really basic data on where a school is and how to use it. So yeah, perhaps that was a flood of answers, but I think that was
comprehensive for sure. Maria, Open Data Working Group.
The only working group.
Oh, sorry. That is actually open to the public. It takes place outside of the government as well, and anybody can join. What more do you need to accelerate?
So I would say two things, because you asked us two things. One would be to make that civil servants and public organizations could feel benefits from open data. Because we said open data could improve quality of life. I would say maybe quality of work. Because we had some examples, let's say when opening data on parliament work, that the main consumers of that data were members of parliament. So that could accelerate this publishing open data and providing it. And the second thing which I feel that maybe makes sense is to connect providers and consumers of the data in some right way, to find mechanisms. I must say that I was very surprised, meaning pleasantly, when we published open data challenges inside the project Open Data Open Opportunities, because we didn't have very attractive data sets. But even though the response from the consumers of the data was very good, and we we wanted to find some ideas about how to solve some problem on particular data sets. And it would be some of the mechanism which we need to work on, which other mechanism we can use.
We are definitely over time. Georgia?
Just one thing, like, it's really amazing that we have this great panel today at the stage and that we have diversity of people coming from different angles and working on different stuff. And we need to understand that open data movement and producing additional value, both social good and economic value, really requires like one complex ecosystem of different stakeholders, and that everybody have to go hand by hand, and that the dialogue and working together is extremely important. So I'll try to conclude with that.
Wonderful. Just want to point out that actually what is being discussed here will feed into the next session on digital economy, which will be around data societies and how we can fuel a digital economy through open data at the main, what is it, the Western Balkan stage. Please join me in a round of applause for our great speakers.